One, two, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Good day, good day, good day, Prof.
Thank you so much, my good brother. Before we get started, would
Yeah,
you please tell me how to
yeah.
pronounce your name?
I will do my best. So I will say it very slow. It's Mzuzukile.
Oh, I feel like I'm in a nursery school. But no, go ahead and just say
Yeah,
it the way you would say it back home.
yeah. I might also even pronounce it wrong because I call myself Xhosa Light because I was born and raised in Johannesburg.
Nice.
Mzuzukile.
Mzuzukile.
Yeah, to my Xhosa people,
Mzuzukile.
I hope I did well there. It
Oh
didn't
my
let you
goodness. I
down.
mean,
Yeah,
that is such a. I mean, I love one thing I love about South African languages is it's sort of like it's very musical. Mzuzukile. I know Steve Harvey has a
yeah,
ball on his show in South Africa in pronouncing some of your names. It's really
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah,
Mzuzukile.
yeah.
Well, nice to meet you, my
Yes, it
good brother.
is. Nice to meet you too, Professor. I caught you singing there as I was coming online, and I
Yeah,
was saying, "What? This is a man of many talents." It
you
seems,
you
eh?
you you have a nice intro song there. That got me. That is
Yeah.
it's a good song to put me in the mood. I was over here
Yeah,
actually
sure.
dancing.
Yeah, yeah. No, great one. Great. Thank you for availing yourself. I haven't done this for I think none at all this year, if I'm not mistaken. I used to do live streams almost every week the past year and a half. So you are the first one that I'm, making a comeback and also welcoming you home.
Yeah,
Just for the benefit of our audience, can you just please tell us what time it is and where you are currently?
indeed.
Yeah.
It is exactly 8:06 a.m. and I am currently living in Lincoln, Nebraska, USA.
Wow. Quite early. We
It
are
is.
wrapping things up here almost. Thank you, and thanks to our audience. I'm just going to do a bit of some housekeeping and check if we are loud and clear. Please do like, comment as we have a conversation. Feel free to chip in with any questions, comments, and so forth. It's an interactive. We try to make it as interactive as much as we can. I'm going to start by reading your bio. Yeah, I'm sitting here before we went live, and I was what I would say tatazeling. It's not a real word, but well, it kind of is because it comes from Vernac, but basically means shaking in my boots. I'm like, I'm in presence of greatness here. I'm in presence of
Please give me a
greatness.
break. Please give me a break.
So I'm going to kick it off, by letting the audience know who you are. So, uh, Prince Dr. J.K. Osiri. Guys, we are sitting in the presence of royalty. Next time you see me, next time you see me, um, Prince Dr. J.K. Osiri is a global leader in education. He founded Osiri University after observing that the plight of Africans with a K, everywhere was the same, with slight differences in lived experiences resulting from regional peculiarities. Africans were fighting invisible institutions which barred their progress and devalued their humanity. He recognized that these institutions were similar to those that stunted the progress of non Africans. He also noticed that Africans were not doing enough for themselves, and it was not because they could not succeed despite all the challenges. Instead, it was due to a failure to realize their enormous abilities. Thus, he thought Africans to be a sleeping giant waiting to be awakened. I love that. Consequently, became a global citizen, dedicating his life to serving the underserved and helping people unleash their full potential. An American with deep African roots, he was born on the coastal region of the former Dahomey Kingdom, now Cotonou, Benin, to parents who emigrated there for business from Nigeria. Kalu was influenced by his father, who had followed the enterprising ways of the ancient Igbo people, known to pursue personal ventures for the benefit of their communities. After graduating from St. Augustine's Seminary School, Abia State, Kalu earned a national diploma in petroleum marketing and business studies from the Petroleum Training Institute, Delta State, and a BS and PhD in chemistry from Grambling State University and Louisiana State University, Baton Rouge, respectively, both in the USA. Having developed protocols and built devices for disease diagnostics for his doctoral research, he pursued a postdoctorate in entrepreneurship and international at the University of Florida, Gainesville, Florida, to learn how to commercialize scientific research. He is also a graduate of the Management Development Program at the Harvard Graduate School of Education, Cambridge, Massachusetts, and has been a professor since 2011. Inspired by the life of one of his heroes and ancestors, Martin Luther King Jr., Kalu joined Alpha Pi Alpha.
Alpha Phi Alpha, that's correct.
I almost exposed myself. And became a live member of the organization. He has traveled extensively around the world for business and pleasure. Kalu believes in working with people to maximize their potential. He is obsessed with excellence and continuous improvement. Recently, he has been studying how societies can use their culture and institutions to achieve positive outcomes in entrepreneurship and innovation. This research led him to explore age-old African systems, which he believes hold the key to creating a better and more equitable world. In harmony with yet another hero and ancestor, the great Nelson Mandela, Kalu believes in the common humanity of all peoples and subscribes to the African philosophy of Ubuntu.
Ubuntu.
Wow, wow, wow.
Well, I wasn't expecting you to
Wow,
read all of that. I mean, you
wow.
insisted to read all of that.
No, I'm reading it and I'm getting inspired. I'm getting chills as I'm busy reading it. This is really inspiring, Professor. I would like to, for you in your own words to tell us, who Professor Osiri is. Just from your little, small as a young man and, having ended up where you are currently.
In a few
Sorry.
words, I'll say, well, once again, my good brother, Mzuzukile, thank you so much for inviting me to your platform. So I say I am a global educator with approximately 2 decades of experience in the educational sector. And I feel like I have a calling, just like you do, and many of us do. We all have a purpose for our lives, and that purpose is deeply rooted in my Africanness. I come from a village, from a place called Abreba, where we believe in taking our brothers and sisters along. We go out, we venture out to do exploits, you could say that, to make money, you could say that, but not for personal gains. But we do it so that we can help those who are behind us. We can help the less fortunate. So that is in a nutshell who I am. I was born in Benin, as you read.
Yeah.
One thing that really shaped my upbringing is being born in a cosmopolitan, multicultural, multi-religious background. In Benin, I was born in a Christian home, so to speak, even though I have strong African traditions and I practice those as well. But also our neighbors were Muslims. And I remember very, very well, our Muslim friends will be fasting. When they break their fast, we will go to their mosque and join them to break fast and eat with them and break bread with them. So I grew up in that environment where we worked together, we played together, we laughed together, and we suffered together. And so, and that has really shaped my life and the way I see people and the way I see things. So today we launched Osiri University to continue that effort of bringing people together so we could solve our common problems.
Wow, that's really powerful. You know, as you are talking, one of the things that's crossing my mind is, excuse me. So you've given us an idea in terms of your childhood and your background. You know, at which point in your life would you say you sort of realized, or the penny dropped, you know, in terms of this is what needs to be done, or I believe I have something inside of me, right, that I can contribute and that I can play a role towards making this thing happen? And were there any individuals, you know, around those points that influenced and inspired that?
Yes.
Yeah.
My father. I have always known since I was a young boy, maybe around 11 years old, that I would be in the educational sector, that I would be teaching, that I would help to launch not just universities, but also elementary schools, high schools. I had always known I would be in the educational sector. In fact, I have it on my diary. And my sister, my younger sister, still has that diary that I wrote that on. But my father played a role in shaping the way I also see life. I remember my father will call us and we will sit around his feet, and he will tell us stories about our culture. And some of them are fictional stories, but we had great lessons from those. But what he also did was he would tell us to perform before him, to display our talents before him, whether it was singing or writing, poetry, whatever. You know, he really was our champion. But also, he made us say certain things. He would tell us as children, he would tell us, you are born to win. Sure. Victory is your birthright. Everybody is the architect of his own fortune. My father was always telling us that. And that not only, again, shaped the way I see the world and gave me confidence to go forth and help people and do things for my family, but also helped me understand the importance of family as well. Maybe we can get into that as well, because whatever I do, I look at things very holistically. It's not just about getting an education, right? Yeah. It's important. But if you have an education and you don't have integrity, it's almost useless. If you have an education and you don't have a community, very important, or you don't have a family background to connect that education with, is going to be futile. You end up just getting a job and growing up, working, making money and dying. So family is important. Community is very important.
Yes.
And also connecting what you've learned to your family. How can you use what you've learned to help your family and your community? Is very critical. And that is in a nutshell how I've been raised.
Wow, you're touching me in my studio, as we would say here in South Africa. You know, there's a story to that where there was a scuffle in some TV studio, and someone said, "Don't touch me on my studio." Prof, you're touching on something. It's almost as if you were eavesdropping on a conversation I was having with a friend. It was a WhatsApp chat the other day, right? Which is family. And his observation that he was sharing was how, you know, as African people, we are the ones that have families that are fractured, you know, the most likely to come from a single parent, what you call household. If there is a family, if there are parents, you know, the likelihood of there being some trauma involved and depriving us of healthy relationships or healthy bonds is not there. What would you say can be done? And I know I'm putting you on the spot here, and it's not there's a one magic wand solution, you know, type thing. But what would you say needs to be done, and deliberately so, you know, that we get that right as we are advancing on the academic side, on the business side, and so forth?
That's a great question, and a very important question. As I told you, my father, my parents were strong advocates of education, and they taught us. They taught us. So yes, they sent us to school to learn, but they
Yeah.
made sure they spend time with us at home. Like I said, they made us recite
Mm.
things, do math, show
Mm.
them homework, give us extra problems. And they didn't even
Mm.
go to school themselves, but they made
Sure.
sure they let us know the importance of education.
Sure.
Indeed, it's unfortunate that not just in Africa, even in the US where I live, a lot of African Americans are now suffering from this pandemic of single parent households.
Mm.
And it is a problem. Let's be
Mm.
very frank.
Mm.
But first of all, let me say kudos to all the single parents because it's not easy. I
Mm.
myself,
Mm.
I'm a
Mm.
single parent,
Wow.
and
Wow.
yes, of course, it's not easy. So kudos
Yeah.
to all the single parents who are doing all they can.
Yeah.
What my suggestion would be, even if you're a single parent, we can
Yeah.
start changing the narrative. Find trusted people within your
Mm.
family members, within your circle of friends, a few of them that you could connect with, who
Mm.
could help you
Mm.
raise your children.
Mm.
It's very important to understand that in the African paradigm, children are not raised by an individual. Children are not even
Mm.
raised by two-parent household. I mean, it
Mm.
begins there. You have to have a father and mother. It
Yes.
begins there. But if you don't have that advantage, it's
Mm.
okay. You could
Sure.
still reach out to folks within your circle of friends that you trust to be involved. They need
Yes.
to
Yes.
show up on a weekly basis and have a schedule for them to
Sure.
be involved so that your kids can learn from
Yes.
people of other gender, from people
Wow.
of other backgrounds in your family and in your circle of friends. That is an important
Yeah.
aspect.
Yeah.
Also, you got to make time to teach your children. That's very important. I mean, I have had the privilege of teaching my own children. In fact, at some point, I
Mm.
homeschooled my daughters at home. We homeschooled
Wow.
them, and then when things didn't work out, and time became, I became constrained with time. We had to send them back to public schools. But they went to public schools, and they shone very well. They did
Sure.
well. They glowed, right? So, and that was because we spent time at home teaching them. So, number one, find
Mm.
people who could get involved. Number
Mm.
two, spend time with your children. Now,
Mm.
this is for those who are from single parents households.
Yeah.
What we need to be doing as a community is to encourage families, encourage relationships,
Mm.
fruitful,
Mm.
sustainable relationships.
Yes.
Understand the
Yes.
importance of coming together and building together. We
Mm.
should be doing that for the sake of those who are coming after us.
I almost said amen there. You are touching quite a critical issue, and just as a short comment, I'm also in the same boat as a single father. And you've got work, you've got business, you've got your own emotional needs, whatever, and these little people also depend on you.
Mm.
And one of my lessons, which I'm not mastering, but there's a point where I was reaching breaking point, and I had to realize that if the ship has cracks, right,
Yes.
it cannot carry the passengers,
Mm-hmm.
right,
Mm-hmm.
and that speaks to me taking care of myself,
Mm.
and I think also you've touched on the need for community, which is something that resonates with my thinking, also that inspired the BrownSense way of doing things.
Wonderful. Let me also add this.
Yeah.
When we spend time with our children
Mm.
and we make it count, what we end up doing is also firing within them the curiosity
Mm.
to want to learn, and we spark the idea of being lifelong learners within
Yes.
them, so that
Yes.
learning doesn't become regimented. Learning doesn't become what you do at a university or at
Hmm.
a school. Learning
Hmm.
happens all the time, even at home. Remember,
Mm.
even
Mm.
before the traditional universities came to play in the West Africa, where it began in Timbuktu, for example, right?
Yeah.
Africans had an educational system whereby children were homeschooled. You learn technical skills from home. You learn the humanities through the stories that you learn from your parents at home. You learn how to in Igbo we call it ituilu, how to use proverbs. Right?
Oh yes.
At home, you learn oratory at home. So, and this is also what we are bringing into Osiri University by offering this flexibility on an online platform to individuals to say, look, you don't have to stop your life and go learn and then restart your life. You could learn along the way while you are going to school. You could keep learning while you are working. You keep learning. So learning takes different forms. So it's important to understand that. I want to make that that connection between what's happening at home and the idea of lifelong learning.
Yes. We've got Tembi Mukwena saying what a visionary. Osiri University is long overdue. You know, one of the things I used to hear in our elite BrownSense days was, the need to start our own schools. There were a few things that the community felt these are the things we need to get into. It was within the education space. It was within the banking space as well. In terms of us having that agency as a people. And here you are, you are making that a reality, right? It's not hey, what if we could come together and start a university? It's here. It's here. Now this brings me to my next question, which is, and you've sort of answered it, but I would like you to get a bit deeper in terms of the inspiration, but I would also like to believe, Prof, the courage. I believe there's a lot of courage that it took, for you to say, I'm going to start Osiri University. And why did you choose that it be founded on the principle of Ubuntu? As an academic yourself, you could have done a copy paste type scenario, but you said no. This is what we need as Africans.
Yes, thank you for that question. The best way to predict the future is to change it. If I want to know how you are going to perform next year, all I need to do is ask you what you did last year, the year before, look at your schedule, look at what you're doing today, and I can predict how life will turn out for you next year or in the future. The best predictor of the future is our action today. I so much believe in that. So I just came to a point where I became sick and tired of the oppression, and sometimes we partake in complaining about the situation. We have valid complaints as a people. So I ask myself, how can we change this? If some of the governments don't understand how to decolonize the curriculum and teach our children in a manner that would actually strengthen not just the economy, but the culture, the African culture, then we got to start something. So that was how we decided to do this. We said, we are sick and tired of waiting. We are sick and tired of complaining. Let's do it. And we got to believe in ourselves. For those who are listening, you've got to believe in yourself and you can do it. You may have a dream. It's a dream within you. It's a fire burning. There is something that needs to be done for your family, something that needs to be done on your street, something needs to be done in your community. Yes, it requires someone like you who is selfless to say, here I am, I'll do it. I'll do it. And then you find people who are like-minded to join in. I always say this, as African people, we don't have the luxury to just take care of our own family and be content. That is my philosophy, which is rooted in Ubuntu, by the way. What do I mean? I've lived in the Western world for a long time. I am an American, right? And I don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for what I've learned in the US. But in the US, you could do well as an individual or as a family man, get a job, make money, and take care of your family. And then you get old, you collect pension, and then you die and they bury you somewhere. The system works, right?
Sure.
We don't have the luxury to live that kind of life in Africa. In Africa, you better just be working for yourself and your family, but also doing for your community. Why? Because your children are going to be left behind in that community, in that society. So you got to make sure you're helping to support and uplift and build strong institutions so that when you are gone, those who come behind you can enjoy the infrastructure that you've put in place. So this is kind of things that was firing within us. We gotta start somewhere. I mean, there's so many things to do, but we gotta start somewhere. And Madiba said it best. The great Nelson Mandela said, he said, education, right, is the only vehicle through which we could change the world, right? It's great to have banking. It's great to have stores. It's great to have clinics. It's great to have businesses. But I believe it starts with education, transforming of the mind. Learning the skills, but also learning the wisdom to pair with the skills so you could make an effective change.
Wow, that's really inspiring. So having said that, right, and also having started Osiri University, if as Mzuzukile I say today, I want firstly to take part and become a member of the Osiri University community. What would I expect? What should I expect? What learnings, also in terms of any community network, type thing, those types of things. Because the more you're talking, I'm visualizing a different type of a university, not a typical, I go there, I go to my lectures, or I go online, I study, I do my exams, and then that's it. I can have the certificate that says I did my degree or diploma at this place. So what is one, what should one expect from being a Osiri University? I even struggle to say student per se because you've described it more as a community.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good question. So first of all, let me say we are an American university, right? We have been authorized to operate right here in the U.S., in the state of Nebraska, right? We have our office here. Right. So basically, our curriculum has to meet American standards, right? You have to have 120 credit hours to get a bachelor's degree. You have to have 7 credit hours to get a master's, and so on and so forth. So those basics have to be in place, right?
Yeah.
Now, what distinguishes us from other universities is, number one, even when you look at online universities in the US, a lot of them have taking a wholesale approach where people become in numbers. Again, I'm not bashing anybody here. I'm just saying this is my observation. I've taken courses on many platforms. I know what I'm talking about. So our students are not part of a number. They are not. We don't take the wholesale approach where we enroll thousands of people in the classroom, right? We only recruit a few students so they get to have some deep connections with themselves, but also with the instructor. This is where you begin to form communities and you can learn from each other. That's number one. Small class sizes is one thing that we are really championing. So yes, you learn online, it's flexible. The things, all the course content is later online for you to go at your own pace. But once a week, you get a chance to actually connect in a synchronous manner online with your professor. You can ask questions and then you go feedback. And then, of course, you could also engage with them via email. Beyond that, we do have a community. And just like you, we also meet weekly on a weekly basis.
Wow.
We just so I will tell folks to keep an eye. In fact, go to osiriuniversity.org. If you go on our homepage and scroll all the way down, you can subscribe to our Ubuntu community.
Wow.
And you can get on our mail list where we
Yes.
connect on a weekly basis and kind of share ideas and encourage each other on various aspects of life. Because again, education is not just about getting a degree, but it's actually about transforming our lives. One last thing about the uniqueness of what we are doing. We are a young university, but we've already achieved so much. When you take a look at our programs, what we're doing is we are aligning our programs with industry standards.
Sure.
So, for example, in our Bachelor of Business Intelligence or our Master of Science in Data and Information Systems, those two programs are sort of heavy IT programs. And students will have to take many courses, including cybersecurity, Internet of Things, data science, and artificial intelligence. Those 4 courses, in addition to other courses, right, to graduate.
Yes.
What we have done is we have aligned the curriculum for these 4 courses with industry standards so that when students finish from our programs, they can go and sit for the industry exams and become certified practitioners in these 4 fields.
Wow.
Right? So that's something that we've also done so that we're not just giving you knowledge and waving our hands. We're saying, look, when you finish with us, it matters. It's something that counts in the industry. And we're talking about, especially in the US backdrop.
Sure.
When you take a look at our course, a program like entertainment and performance, we have a master's of art in performance, in entertainment and performance.
Yes.
We were able to recruit a successful former Hollywood actress to come and teach that course for us. And she also runs a studio in Atlanta, right?
Sure.
Her name is Jonah Johnson, if I may say that, in case people want to go look her up.
Yeah.
So highly successful in coaching and teaching young actors from her studio in Atlanta, and also preparing actors to go to Hollywood. So they have a program where you become licensed in what is called the Chobok acting technique. Again, pardon me, I'm going into detail here now, right? So the Chobok acting technique is something that is recognized in the Hollywood circles. As level 1, level 2, and level 3. When you finish our program, our Masters of Arts in Entertainment and Performance, you automatically get your Chobok license for the level 1 basics and the advanced level, which is level 2. Okay. And then, of course, after you graduate, you can then go on and get your master level, which is level 3. So my point is, we are aligning our curriculum with the industry, whether it's in arts, whether it's in the sciences or technology, so that what we are teaching is relevant.
That's great. So it's not just theory, but what one would become employable, should they, go and seek employment. I really like the sound of that. There's something that crossed my mind, sorry, while you were talking, and then my security guard showed up. I'm referring to my dog here.
What kind of dog do you have?
He's a funny guy. He's a mixed breed. Where I got him from an animal shelter. So
look at you, good man. Look at you.
Yeah, so he's a bit on the traumatized side, but he's a cool guy, Shem. He's a cool guy. No, this is great. So I've got the link on the screen for those that asking themselves, how do I apply? And the same link you can use to, as Professor said, you can scroll to the bottom of the page and sign up or subscribe to receive or to join the Ubuntu community.
Yes.
Prof, I want you to go into what we currently have right now, which I believe is a once in a lifetime opportunity. If I apply today before the end of the month, what do I stand to benefit? How much do I, excuse me, would I pay if I do it now as opposed to, after the end of the month? Can you please
Yes.
just highlight what you have?
Yes. So let me just preface what I'm going to say by showing you what I'm drinking from Case Western Reserve. I
Yeah.
went to Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio, for one semester. Guess what the tuition was for one semester?
Sure.
$25,000 for one semester. Okay.
$25,000 just for one semester.
Just go and look it up. So I went there for one semester. Western Reserve, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's a private school.
Yes.
A small one. It's not Harvard, but it's considered like the Harvard of Ohio, so to speak. If you look at public schools in the U.S., you'll see tuition ranging anywhere from, say, $15,000 a year,
Sure.
or a semester, depending on where you are, cost of living and all that stuff.
Yes.
All the way to 100,000 a 100.
Yeah.
I would say, in fact, I think the most expensive school is in Massachusetts. Think about almost $100,000 a year, I believe. But anyway,
Sure.
my point is, even though we're a U.S. university, but we understand that we need to give access to people who are struggling, who need a break. Our mission is to democratize education, so we are waiving tuition. You ask, what do you stand to gain? Tuition waiver. So you don't pay any tuition, zero. However, we are asking folks to pay what we call exam fees. That would be the only thing that you will pay. Of course, once after you apply, there's an application fee, of course, that you paid for the application. Beyond that, there's an exam fees. And exam fees, if you do the breakdown, it basically comes down to about $100 per course at the bachelor's level, or $250 per course at the master's level. That's roughly how it breaks down. And that's the only thing individuals will have to pay. And the people can also pay that, in full or in installments as well.
Okay.
So that is, I hope that answers your question.
It definitely does. So I want us to go through the amounts, and my currency converter mind is running over time here. Yeah, so I think that, and personally, this is how I look at things. I once had a conversation with this. When you speak to someone and you tell them something and you don't realize while you're saying that to them, inadvertently you're speaking to yourself. You start checking at areas of your life where you can apply your own advice. Sorry. So this young guy was complaining about, the time he was running a restaurant at the time, and he finds himself having to go to the streets to buy vegetables at the fruit and veg space, and having to come back and do the admin, prepare the food. He had people working at the store, helping him. So my question to him was, how much would it cost you if you hired someone to do the running around, whether they come and deliver the products or they do it for you and get it for you? So he gave me a rough figure, and I said, I don't think that's how much you pay yourself. If the business can pay you, you pay yourself way more than what you would be paying this person to doing the running around. So in other words, what you might see as a saving currently. So I'm avoiding to pay, let's say, 200 rands or 3 to get someone to do something for me, right? Because I want to save that 3 at the time. But the time I'm spending, which I could have used to do more beneficial things that have a higher value, I've lost that time because I'm now doing the 300 rand saving activity. And I'm saying this to say what you've just outlined, in terms of what Osiri University gives you, right? And the amounts that you've shared. I'm glad you mentioned, Prof, that one can also do payment or monthly payments, because sometimes you look at an amount and it scares you the first time. So I'm going to share some words here at the bottom of the screen.
Sure. Let me. If
Yeah,
you, may I jump in here and say
yeah,
one of the things I've also learned is, in fact, is from a wise man called Warren Buffett. Maybe you've heard of Warren Buffett. Actually, he's a graduate of the University of Nebraska, where I also teach,
yes.
and he lives right here in my state, right? So,
Wow.
I feel some sort of closeness to
Yeah,
Warren Buffett and to his thinking. Very wise man, and he said,
yeah.
"Value is what you get, and
Wow.
price is what you pay." Right?
Powerful.
So I want people, as a people, we need to start thinking about value, not just
Yes,
price. This
yes.
is about price. So the value we are given is enormous. I mean, we have PhDs from all over the world, from the UK, from the US, from Europe, who are teaching. We also recruit some folks from Africa as well,
Sure.
because we believe that we have talents everywhere, right? Um, so these people are dedicated, experienced instructors who are teaching, who are already teaching at the universities
Mm.
in those all over the world, right? And they are the ones teaching you as well. So you're getting a value for the bachelor's degree, minimum $40,000 for a bachelor's degree, free at no cost, right? So that's the value. So people, let's to think about what's the value of what I'm getting versus what
Mm.
is the price. Um,
Mm.
so when you think of things in those terms, you realize that this is a no-brainer. This is a
Mm.
no-brainer,
Mm.
and it's time for us to start really building for ourselves.
Sure, sure. I've also shared on the screen an email address that if they want to get in touch with Osiri, they can get in contact. Gabo, I hope I'm pronouncing that
Yes,
correctly,
yes, Cabo.
at osiriuniversity.org. Prof, before we wrap things up, I always like to think of the end game, right?
Mhm.
When I started BrownSense, and this is a question that has come up in some interviews I've done or conversations.
Yes.
And for me, when I started BrownSense, it was not even a business idea. It was not if I do 1, 2, 3 and charge people X amount per month, this is where I'm going to be sitting. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not knocking that kind of thinking,
Yeah.
right? I'm saying this to show that sometimes you've got some end game in your mind, but you start off somewhere and you sort of connect the dots as you look back behind you to say, wow, this I didn't think this would be where I am currently. And for me that end game was largely to challenge the mindset. It was not necessarily creating a platform where people can transact, and make business. It was more about what can we do to change, because this is where we've been hit the most,
Mhm.
and challenging the mindset. Either you are challenging me, or I'm exposing myself, right? I'm doing or saying something and I'm like, I didn't think I would behave a certain way. I always thought, I'm of a certain level or caliber or whatever, but clearly there's some work that one needs to do. So with Osiri University, and also having in mind, the opportunities that Africa is sitting on. A lot of multinationals you will hear saying things like, Africa is the last frontier.
Mhm.
And we don't see ourselves that way. It's almost like we go with cap in hand and asking them to give us money, invest in our continent and so forth,
Yes.
whereas they need us more than we need them. And we have the youngest population, in terms of numbers. We've got a lot more, while the
Mhm.
world is growing older. What do you have in mind with all of that, with the Africa Free Trade Agreement in place? That's wonderful, but it's going to be a piece of paper if we don't find ways to benefit from that.
Before I go to Africa, let me start right here in the U.S. in Nebraska,
Yeah.
because again, um, I'm a global citizen, right? And I see things from that perspective. I went to what is called a historical Black college and university, HBCU, in the
Mhm.
U.S., Grambling State University,
Yeah.
where I kind of learned about African American history. African Americans have peculiar issues and problems, challenges in the US. So, and what you find is because of a colonized education, even here in the US, you notice a lot of our brothers and sisters, African American brothers and sisters here in the US, may have some issues in the educational system.
Yeah.
The end goal, at least here, is to say, look, for those students who may not be able to go to a traditional university, who may come from backgrounds that are a little bit unique, they can come to Osiri University and we'll help them. We'll show them love. We'll guide them. We'll help them, propel them to become somebody that they want to be, right? They could be working while going to school, or we can meet them with tutorials at cyber cafes, at coffee shops, and things of that sort. So that is one way to look at what we're doing. And we could take that idea too and take it to Africa. And say for those who are looking for flexible education, who want to continue with their lives while learning, they can come to Osiri University and learn something that will transform their lives. But it's even bigger than that. You know the issue that's happening in Niger today. You've heard about Niger, the turmoil in Niger, the military junta, and the pushback against French colonialism in Niger. Niger has uranium, just like South Africa also has uranium.
Yes.
My brother, I mean, okay, let's just think about this. Why is it that today the best nuclear scientists and engineers are not from Niger? You have uranium in your soil. God has blessed you with uranium. Shouldn't you be the steward of that?
Yes.
Shouldn't the whole world be coming to Niger and South Africa to learn about nuclear engineering and nuclear science?
Wow.
You see?
Sure.
Nigeria has oil. It's become a curse. I'm sure you know about this.
Yes.
And we can't boast of exporting petroleum engineers to the world. Nigeria by now should be exporting petroleum engineers to the world, setting up rigs like Guyana just discovered oil, right? Nigeria, alongside with the US, because the US have done it well. US, they have oil and they've developed the technology in the US. They've done it well. That's how you do it. Nigeria should be doing the same thing. So just like the US is playing a role in Guyana in helping develop their oil, countries like Nigeria should be there as well. So the end goal is to live in a society where the people have the capacity to develop their resources, both their mineral resources and, of course, to develop themselves as well.
Yeah.
And we believe, even though we are starting small right now, that is where we're going. We want to help transform African nations, to teach people what they could use to help governments transform their minerals, transform their resources so they can stand up and compete in the global landscape.
Yeah. Sure. That's a sermon on the mount right there. And it's also an indictment. It's an indictment, you know, as you're talking, I'm also feeling challenged. That we really cannot afford to kick the ball down the street any longer. I'm looking at, you know, countries like Saudi Arabia in terms of what they are doing currently, investing in sports because they've got a plan. You know, the oil won't be there forever. It's got a timeline, right? And what's the next big thing that can sustain us and our children? And you see them, you know, acting and executing on that. And we've got a problem with, you know, African leadership. And I believe a lot of political will is concerned. I mean, is required. You know, but in the absence of that, also, I really also do believe that as people, there's a lot we can do. Actually, one of the terms that, you know, was in my mind when I started BrownSense was start where you are with what you have.
Mm.
There's for me, there's always something. My bank balance might be on a negative, Prof, but I promise you, I'm just looking at the time also, but just to share something personal, I've
Please
been
do, because you are
in.
now hitting me. You are now hitting me in some deep places, and we're going to end it there. Please go ahead and
Yeah.
share.
And I've been in situations where the money is just not there, but instead of worrying and stressing, I will think, okay, what can I do? But also pray. And the prayer might not be me opening my mouth and praying. It might be, Lord, please do 1, 2, 3, right? And literally, I'll wake up. There's a WhatsApp in my inbox. Mzu, please help me with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'm like, hi XYZ. To do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm going to charge you 9, 8, 10, 11, 12. Okay, thanks, Mzu. Please send me an invoice with your bank account details. Same day, money in the. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And for me, and that's why I'm saying, going back to the mind, right? Because also it's in those times that the mindset gets challenged. When times are good, my mind is not really challenged. The muscle is not facing any resistance. And what do I do? Do I curl up and cry and feel sorry for myself, or do I say, okay, let me check the cupboards. Do I have something to prepare supper at the very least, for the kids? Oh yeah, there's that. Let me do these things. There's food on the table. They don't have to know this. Do you understand? So, Prof, I'm really inspired. I believe our paths have crossed for a reason.
So, very, very quickly,
Yeah.
do what you can with what you have. And for your audience, please
Yes.
take heed to that advice. In my village, within my village, we have a clan. Within my clan,
Yeah.
there's a legend. There's a story about Nnamaligwo, a man called Nnamaligwo.
Yeah.
The story goes that he killed a tiger with a broom. Right? He killed it. Yeah, the tiger attacked him, and he was like, killed it, right? So,
Yeah.
so it's like, what you have in your hand, use
Yes.
that, right, to defend yourself
Yes.
and to
Yeah.
make way for
Yeah.
yourself. The same story
Yeah.
is seen for those from the Christian tradition.
Yes.
God asked who? Moses, what do you have in
Yes.
your hand? When he was caught
Yes.
between the
Yes.
river and an army, right?
Yes. Yes.
God asked him,
Yes.
what do you have in your hands? It's the same story that we have from my village. I
Yes.
have a
Yes.
rod. Say, use that rod and cast on the sea. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, indeed, my good brother,
Yeah.
Suzuki Le,
Amen.
do what you can with
Yeah.
what you have. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for that.
Thank you, Prof. I'm looking forward to many more of these engagements, and thank you again for your time. Thank you to the audience that's watching us. We will be repeating this conversation, doing reruns and so forth. Feel free to send an email to gabo@osiriuniversity.org, or you can send it directly to us at info@brownsense.co.za. Siyabonga enkosi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bye, everyone.